Good morning, class. Are you there? Good morning, Shirisha. Good morning, Roshan. Good morning, Amreen. Good morning, Vicky. Good morning, Rima. Good morning, Akarsh. Good morning, Yahya. Good morning, Kishan. Good morning, Shilpi. Good morning, everybody. Shall we begin or wait for a couple of minutes? Good morning, Nagma. Good morning, Lakshmi. Shall we start? Okay. Today, good morning, everybody. I hope you all are fine, healthy, happy. I'm going to start something on negotiations. Pavan, good morning. Negotiations. Rose, good morning. Rupa, good morning. Abish, good morning. Ravi, good morning. Abash, good morning. Bharti, good morning. Yeah. Momocha. Thank you, Momocha. Good morning, and you too. Okay. Now, I'm going to tell you something about International Praju, good morning. Manjunath, good morning. Yeah, you too, Manjunath. Lizelle, good morning, sweetheart. Yeah. Hanumesh, good morning. Zahra, good morning. Excuse me. Sorry. Sujan, good morning. Lovely cherries are coming. So cherries and plums and lychees and those orange fellows. Yeah. So some fruits I ate. That's why I'm sneezing today. Yeah. Priksha, good morning. Sujan, good morning. Anshu, good morning. Yeah. Shall we start? Okay. Today I'm talking to you about international negotiations. All right. Let me open my file. Open the negotiations file first. Okay. Okay. Once again. Once again. I'll open my file. Now open the PowerPoint of negotiations.ppt. Okay. So today I will talk to you about international negotiation and how cross-cultural communication is useful in international negotiation. So first we will talk about we have already spoken about culture. So first we will talk about cross-cultural communication. What is cross-cultural communication? Communication that happens between across cultures or intercultures or when two cultures meet each other is called cross-cultural communication. So we have, according to the Worf hypothesis, we have the strong version that language determines thought, and the weak version that it doesn't. Okay, so that's not very important for us. You come to this one. There are high context cultures and low context cultures. I told you I will tell you in another class about the high context and the low context cultures. So here we are. In the high context cultures, communications have multiple meanings interpreted by reading the situation. For example, Asian and Arabic languages are among the most high context cultures in the world, meaning we have gestures, we make expressions with our eyes, and so on and so forth. We not only use our words in language, we also use our hands, we use our eyes, we use our face to express certain things. So these are high context cultures, whereas we'll talk about low context cultures. In low context cultures, the words themselves provide most of the meaning. You won't see a lot of gestures or eyes or expressions on the face or any movement at all. It will most North European languages, including German, English, and the Scandinavian languages, are low context cultures. Now I have given, go to the next slide. I've given you one high context and low context countries. The highest is, here you have Japanese, whereas versus the continuum goes on to the Swiss. It is not important. We'll go to the slide which says non-verbal communication, communicating without words. So when you communicate through body movements or facial expressions or body posture, it is called kinesics. Okay. So what is kinesics? When you communicate through body movements. Suppose I make something like this, maybe surprise or something like this, smile. These are facial expressions, body posture. Sometimes we sit in the chair and we relax, and which shows that okay, a relaxed attitude, etc. If you sit in front, too much at the edge of the chair, you are showing nervousness. If you're in the middle, comfortable but not too relaxed, I'm listening to you kind of attitude. So you have body posture also tells us how the person, what the person is feeling, whether there is respect for us, disrespect for us, whether they are anxious to hear what we have to say, or they're disinterested in what we want to say. So something like this. So we have to be careful to have in international business, we must be careful to have a posture that is, gives the right communication to the other person. Even facial expressions. Some people, sometimes your face can betray you what you're thinking. So you have to, it's good to have positive thoughts always, but it's also necessary to keep your facial expressions in control, and body movements, fidgeting with our hands, fidgeting or touching our face, and moving our hands. All this shows nervousness. So we have to be careful about our body movements also. Then next is proxemics, the use of space to communicate. See, social distancing is a different concept altogether, but in normal situations, we have something called the personal bubble of space. 9 inches from ourselves to 20 inches, we do not allow anybody unless very close family to come. Otherwise, friends are away at least 20 inches away. Okay? It says North Americans prefer more distance than Latin and Arab cultures. Why? You can see in many Arab cultures and all, where the greeting is by hugging and hugging each other and touching the face to face, etc. So that is not a 20-inch distance. So whereas when you say, greeting each other with just shaking hands is distance. So this is proxemics. Okay, then touch. Basic human interaction. See, we have to be careful. Some people do not like to be touched at all. Some people like to shake hands. Some people like to embrace. So there are, Latin European and Latin American cultures are more touching than Germanic, Anglo, or Scandinavian cultures. See, why am I telling you like this? When international business, when you do negotiations, negotiations means meeting people, then you should know how to behave, when to do, what not to do. It is very important, because especially more than what to do. What not to do is more important according to me, because you cannot hurt anybody's feelings. All right. Now, practical issues in cross cultural verbal communication. We'll come to that. First, you have in international negotiations, you may have um, interpreters. Now, before that, I think I have to tell you what international negotiations meant and why international negotiations are necessary. Okay, see, international negotiations, 1 minute. Yeah, Anshu, good morning. Devika, good morning. 1 minute. Asha, good morning. Rajesh, good morning. Rakshita, good morning. Amrita, good morning. Shashikant, Madhuling, Bharat, Madevi, Mohan Kumar, Yashaswini, happy morning, yeah. Did I miss anybody? Then Larma, Chaitra, Kumar Naik, Ashok, all of you, good morning. Okay, Tejas, good morning, Tejas. See, now remember one thing. Why do we do negotiations? Two reasons. First, negotiations are when we want to have a new business partnership from the foreigner. Okay, we want to have a new business partnership from the foreigner. So we go into negotiations. Excuse me. I have a little dry throat, so I need hot water. That one. And the second one is when you have a problem, you already have business relationships with the person, and you have a problem. Mm. So to solve the problem, you have negotiations. All right, two different reasons. So these negotiations are very sensitive issues. They have to be done very properly. Okay, with this, I will go on and tell you when you do not know a language, what can you do? The first thing you can do is have interpreters. Okay, interpreters provide simultaneous translation in a foreign language. You don't need to wait. They require, interpreters require greater linguistic skills than just speaking a language or translating. Because, see, there are nuances in a language that are underwritten, or there are nuances in a language, how you say something. Okay, how you say something. You too is, yeah, you are included. You too, that is a surprise. Okay, but the words are exactly the same. So when the interpreter interprets, should he interpret inclusivity? Like I said, you too, that is inclusivity of the person, inclusive. And say you too, that is a surprise, it's exclamation. Excuse me. The interpreter should know the words are exactly the same, but the interpreter should know to interpret the right kind of emotion. All right. So also he should ensure the accuracy and common understanding of agreement. So having an interpreter is not easy. You should have the right interpreter. Okay. Now there is a concept of communication with non-native speakers. Now sometimes what happens is, see, non-native speakers will not speak the language in the same way. Sometimes we say we Mangaloreans speak Mangaloreans, for example, they speak textbook Kannada. They speak Kannada language exactly like how in the textbook, grammatically correct. Whereas in Bangalore, Mysore, and all, we just speak Kannada. Most of our words are cut when you speak, because we generally keep on speaking the language. Whereas from Mangalore, you have another language, not necessarily Kannada, because the local language is Tulu. Many people use Tulu only. So something like this. And if you see North Karnataka, their language is broken up in another way. Okay, though they are native speakers, they use different native Kannada speakers, but they have lot of different other colloquial words. So something like this. So when you speak with non-native speakers, okay, non-native, I give you the example of the Japanese polishing the surface of the Boeing plane, just because they said the Americans said they want a mirror finish. So mirror finish means, for a native English speaker, mirror finish means a smooth finish. But for a non-native speaker, mirror means where you can see your face. So The Boeing outside was polished so well that they could see the face. So this is the difference between a native and a non-native speaker. So when you talk to non-native speakers, you must use the most common words with the most common meanings, simple words. Do not use words which you do not understand. It's very important. Select words with few alternative meanings. See, some words mean more than one thing. They mean two things, etc. So do not select words with alternative meanings. Then follow rules of grammar strictly. It is always better to be grammatically correct. Then speak with clear breaks between words. All right. Do not mix the words, make combination of two words and go fast, etc. Okay. Then avoid words borrowed from literature, like high sounding words. They may not be used at all actually. Avoid words that represent pictures, mimic the cultural, you be careful, that's all. Okay. Now next, avoiding attribution errors. See, sometimes we attribute one meaning to a word and we do not know. See, as a non native speaker, we do not know whether the meaning we attribute to that word is correct or not. So these kind of attribution errors have to be, you have to be careful. Now we talk about international negotiations. See, international negotiations are definitely more complex than domestic negotiations, because the people come from two different countries, two different cultures, two different ways of dressing, two different ways of thinking, and two different ways of perception, all this. Now, differences in national cultures and differences in political, legal, and economic systems often separate potential business partners. See, as it is, you have different legal systems, different economies, different currencies, different political systems, different administration, different governments. So many things are there. Along with that, if language also complicates, then international business, it's very difficult for international business to happen. So next we come to the steps in the negotiation process. Next we come to the steps in the negotiation process. Okay. Yeah, Sunita, Soumya, good morning. Mallikarjun, Madevi, good morning, all of you. Nina, good morning. Naveen, good morning. Sachin, good morning. Okay, I'm continuing. Now I'm talking about the steps in the international negotiation process. Okay, now the first step is preparation. See, you have to be very prepared. One second. My One second. I don't know why my Mac is not charging. One second, one second. Once again, I'll just make sure my yeah, because once no, I forgot to see my Mac was not charging and suddenly there was darkness. Okay, so the first thing is preparation. Now, what do you mean by preparation? See, for example, I imagine there is a person whom we have sent to an office for further. Say, imagine last year we sold them a Xerox machine. Okay, last year we sold them a Xerox machine. This year we want to sell them a printer. Imagine. So imagine as we go, you send a representative. Can you send him without any preparation? See, last year you sold him a Xerox machine. You must find out whether the Xerox machine is working, whether we have given them backup, whether we have given them annual maintenance, and whether our relationship with the person is has been maintained. Only then can you go for another this thing, second second sale. So you have to prepare them, and secondly you have to build the relationship. See, to build the relationship you must go, okay, you must go at the proper time, and there are times when maybe people have the habit of having an afternoon siesta, so you cannot ask them for an appointment at 2:30, 3 o'clock, or you cannot ask them an appointment at lunch hour and something like this. That is one thing, where you cannot build a relationship. It is always nice, before you call, to give a message and say, I'm so and so, I would like to talk to you regarding this. When can I call? Can I have an appointment? It is better, because when you give a message, the people can read it anytime you want. Now, if you are going to make a phone call, what happens is people have to leave everything and take the phone call, and they may not be able to take the phone call at the, they may be busy, and they'll have to take the phone call. That time, who called me when I was busy, which call irritated me, that will remain in the mind. So your first step to building the relationship has gone wrong. Then third step is exchange information, or you give the first offer. See, I would like to you to buy this from me, and this is the price at which I'm offering, etc., etc. Then afterwards, no, when you find the person is willing to listen to you, you go into persuasion. Once you get into persuasion and the person really wants to talk to you, then you give the concessions, how much of a discount you give, this that you can give, and then you write the agreement. Okay. Now all this. Okay. Um, Class, I want a 5 minute break. I'll come back at 9:30. Shubhodaya, Shashank. I'll come back at 9:30. Kindly excuse me.